There is a sixth dimension beyond that which is known to man. A multiverse as vast as eternity, as timeless as the Infinity Gems. It is the middle ground between the big two and the indie publishers, between sci-fi and mysticism, and it lies between the pages of the reader's imagination. At the summit of entertainment, the dimension of comics, where a humble service is held. We call this service the Gospel of Comics.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Gospel of Comics. I am your host, The Church of Failure, and with me, as always, is my trusty co-host, Ayrton McCartney. How you doing today, buddy?
Doing good. Almost forgot to unmute myself.
Oh, good. Good. Well, again, you're not the only one having a little bit of boomer tech issues tonight. Been a long day. Been a long day.
Yeah, I almost couldn't get my headset to connect to the Bluetooth. That was fun.
I almost couldn't get my internet to connect, period.
Alright then.
I was having some problems. My computer keeps wanting to restart, even though I schedule it for like 4 in the morning, and it just doesn't restart then, and I'm just like, what the fuck? So.
Yeah, my office computer at work was being slow, and I was like, it's been a while since I've reset it or anything, so went to click over that said update and reset. I was like, no, fuck you.
No, go ahead and go fuck yourself on that one, buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, why in God's name does everything you do with a computer require a fucking restart? I mean, who thought of that? Like, just reset your settings. Like, literally, what's going to change? Like,
right?
Can you not just implement a way for when you install something for it to fucking work? Jesus Christ, it is 2020. Well, how's it going, Noah, bro? Good to see you, buddy. How was that fight last night?
We were able to put a fucking man on a moon.
Oh, I didn't get to talk to you about this last night, Ayrton. Jesus Christ, did you see that murder? Did you see an Irishman murder a cowboy last night?
I didn't, but I've seen all the social media stuff.
Oh man, yeah.
I went like right to bed.
It was brutal. It was 40 seconds. The main event fight for UFC 246 was 40 seconds.
40 seconds?
40
Holy
seconds
shit.
long. McGregor fed Cowboy 5 elbows, I believe. 5 elbows to the face, 4 or 5. And then kicked him in the side of the head one good time. And then proceeded to beat the living shit out of him until the ref called the fight. 40 seconds. Or no, not elbows. Shoulders. I'm sorry, shoulders. Fed him 4 shoulders to the face.
Jeez.
Yeah. How's it going, Mrs. Church? Good to see you. Like, I mean, I've seen you earlier today, obviously. But, no. And, everybody was looking around. And, the main thing that I've seen on Twitter today with people talking about it was, I didn't know you could do that in UFC. Honestly, I don't think anybody did. I'm not sure McGregor knew you could do that in UFC. I don't know that the refs knew you could do that. Novel Bro saying he got the shoulder strikes from Mayweather. Really? I mean, you definitely can't shoulder strike in boxing. I don't know.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I'm definitely sure. Like, yeah, you look for elbows, you look for hands, you look for feet, you look for knees, but you never look for a shoulder to come flying at your face when you're in a clinch.
I mean, clever.
Well, I've got a good real life friend who's big in the fight game, and he made mention that he made it sound really good and really eloquent, but I'm going to butcher it by saying that it's kind of like if you're a real fighter and you know technical fighting, and then you show up, and then some drunk asshole finishes off his last pitcher of beer and charges at you while yodeling carrying a chair. You're just not ready for that because, well, that's just not what happens.
I mean, that's fair.
And Conor McGregor is that drunk asshole with the chair. But I gotta say, Cowboy took it like brilliant. A champ. McGregor was very sportsmanlike about it. He was very good good and nice to the guy. It wasn't like a fuck you moment. And I've got a lot of theories about it, and we'll shut up about fighting because that's not the channel. But I do kind of want to get through this. I'm telling you, my adrenaline, like I don't know what it is about watching combat sports, but my adrenaline was just fucking pumping after that, even though it was only 40 seconds. You get there and you realize that McGregor did that, like that fight, that performance was that was a fuck you to his last defeat in the UFC. Khabib embarrassed him during that fight. Khabib fucking just ruined him. And he came out the same guy that beat Nate Diaz that second fight, not the guy that lost to Khabib. I mean, that was Conor McGregor in his fucking prime. But anyway, enough about boxing. I wanted to see if you had seen that. I'm sure you can find a full fight compilation on YouTube. It'll take you more. His fastest win is what, 13 seconds?
Not sure. I don't really follow it that much. I mostly just see the highlights and stuff after the fact.
But I'm pretty sure his fastest win is 13 seconds, but I think this is his second fastest win. But yeah, you sit through like 6 hours of an undercard and a main card to get to the main event fight that starts at midnight. And this motherfucker just comes out the gate like, yeah, I'm ready to go home. Let's do this.
He was probably like, fuck, this is taking so long.
Well, they didn't arrive until like 11 o'clock at night, our time.
Yeah.
But, it was glorious. Everybody on Ralph's show. I did call into Ralph's show after our show last night and give him a little ribbing for taking our time slot, but I'm sure he's not going to relent it.
Did you?
I did. I was like, you got a good show here. I enjoyed it, even if you are stealing my fucking time slot. But anyway, no.
Yeah, no. I went right to bed.
Anyway, no. So we didn't really have a whole lot planned for today. I could have looked up some articles. I'm talking to another Save You a Click, and they'll review comic articles and they'll summarize them in like 1 or 2 short sentences. I figured that could be like a fun little segment to pull up, but I want to have their permission first. Like, I don't want to just take their content because they're also a creator or whatever.
Right.
And oh yeah, he has the fastest knockout in 3 different weight classes. But no, me and Novel Bro were watching from completely legitimate streams of that fight, and they're definitely above board. We paid our $70 to watch the fight each, but yeah. Anyway,
$70 for 40 seconds.
Well, I mean, there was more than that. Like, you got to see a 17-minute Holly Holm fight that was boring as shit. Yeah, those 2 girls, they just clinked it up for the entire fucking 3 rounds. And it was just extremely boring, but it was technically brilliant. Her opponent was a bulldog, and she just wrapped her up and kept her pushed against the cage and feeding her, left to the face and right to the body.
Nice.
But anyway, like I said, we didn't really have a whole lot planned for this evening, so I do have, I remember we talked about this on a show last week, I believe, or the week before, maybe. I'm not sure. Just like I said, it's been a weird week. Going to the hospital, being on
you
drugs.
almost died.
Yeah, going to the hospital, being on drugs, not drinking for a few days. It's been a rough week. But anyway, back to proper form now, and I want to take a look at East of West because I've been reading a lot of East of West. past couple of days. I don't know if you've read any further than the first couple of issues that you talked about with me.
A bit.
Okay.
Let's see where am I at? Oh, okay. I guess I'm just starting 6. I haven't finished that one yet.
Man, I'm on 30.
So, well,
but it's so good. Oh man, like the twists and turns of this book and the storyline. Go ahead.
Well, even just the first, uh, 5 issues, I guess.
That's what we're talking
for
about
that.
tonight. Is the first 5 issues, technically volume 1, if you will.
Yeah. Like, even that has enough kind of like twists and turns in it. I can only imagine what was it, 44 issues or whatever?
I think 45 or 47, something like that. I've got it all. Let me take a look real quick. No, 45 and the world, so 46 issues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've just got a couple copies of the same issue because of variant covers and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, East of West, we talked about in part on the show before, just as far as the concept goes and everything. But you immediately see here, and I think we even touched on this the last time we talked about it, the symbolism, the black on white, the gray halftones and stuff like that are used in the establishing pages, if you will. I think that's kind of a signature that Hickman likes to use in some of his more epic books. I didn't see a lot of it in Secret Wars, but it's been a couple of years since I read that in full, so it might be something I need to go back and read again and look at and see if there's any of that there. But in this and in House and Power of the Vex, there was the symbolism. Now, it's not as complex in East of West, but it definitely is noticeable, and it does seem to kind of be a pattern almost of having.
He likes his geometric.
Yeah.
I guess symbolism. I was thinking of a different word, but I can't quite grasp it.
Well, the first thing is this book starts with an absolute bang. You don't have any dicking around in establishment of this book. The first thing you see is the rebirth of 3 of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse,
which is
war, conquest, and famine.
Yeah, and it's intense.
Yeah. They crawl out of a place. You'll later find that this little area is called Armistice, and these beings they're called Apocrypha. They are living embodiments of the Word, but we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. But again, you have famine, who is green, war, who is red, and conquest, who is blue. Now, these things, while you seem to have 2 boys and a girl, you're shown flashbacks where these characters were all gender swapped because their genders are somewhat fluid.
Hickman ahead of the times.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what this book leads off with. This is what 4 pages in, I believe, is the birth, the rebirth of the horseman, and oh yeah, to talk to Novel Bro here for another second. That is the second time that Holm and Pennington have faced each other, but Holm won both times. Technically, everybody had Pennington as a favorite to face Ronda Rousey before Holm just kind of came in and fucked her up. But anyway, back to the comics. So you get kind of a brief interlude here, but there's also one other thing that I want to kind of talk about a little bit before we before we get there. Now, it's going to kind of be hard to see this on the screen, so I'll read it out loud. But it says the things that divide us are stronger than the things that unite us. And there are these little quotes, and sometimes they actually show up in the book, and sometimes they don't. But I also want to take a minute and just kind of drool over the artwork in this book again. Because Nick Dragotta, that man is a fucking genius.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, his artwork is beautiful. It's visceral. The use of
it's stunning, really.
Yeah. It's almost, and not to take anything away from the colorist either, but I feel like if this book was even in black and white, it would still be just as gorgeous. Now, let me kind of backtrack here. You've got Jonathan Hickman on writing, Nick Dragotta on art, Frank Martin on letters, and Frank Martin on colors, and Russ Wooten on letters. So give everybody their proper credit here, and everything's lettered pretty well too. I've got to say.
Yeah.
Nothing's hard to read. Everything's spaced well.
Yeah, no obnoxiously sized word bubbles that cover up some of the art.
Right. But anyway, after, your introduction of the 3 of 4 horsemen of apocalypse, now you may be wondering, obviously the one that is missing is going to be Death. And you get an idea of where Death is later on, but we'll get there. So you get a backstory of how this world came to be what it is. So this is America, but it's America in our future, but not our future specifically, right?
Well, we don't know yet. It's still a few years off.
Well, the events...
The West Coast.
Well, the events that everything kind of happened in have already transpired, and none of this has come to pass.
Yeah, fair enough.
But anyway, there was a truce and a settling and, a signing of an agreement. And several people eventually came together as a group called the Chosen. Now, the Chosen are basically the Illuminati, the Deep State, whatever you want to call it. They're the people that run shit who you don't know run shit. Now, several of them are
the
presidents.
People that turn the frickin' frogs gay.
Yeah, them. But of these groups, you have the Union, the Confederacy, the Kingdom of New Orleans, the Endless Nation, Armistice, and what is it? The Dynasty of Mao.
Yeah, it's abbreviated the PRA.
Yeah,
I think it's People's Republic of America or something like that.
right. But there's a Chinese-controlled institution. There's a Native American-controlled institution. The kingdom seems to be predominantly African-American. The Confederacy is what you would think it would be. And the Union is essentially if the Civil War had just left us split as a country. And all of these groups come together to form what they call...
Republic of Texas is still probably my
favorite.
favorite.
Oh, yeah, the Republic of Texas. I forgot that one. So you've got six nations. How can I forget the Republic of Texas is my favorite? Yeah. But yeah, we don't get to talk about the Republic of Texas very much in this one. That makes me sad.
Oh.
But
that sucks.
But they talk about the forming of the Word. And the Word is essentially a prophecy handed down, written down during certain events, and brought together in 3 parts. It's a little convoluted, but if you just kind of go with it, it weaves itself into the story.
Yeah. It's one of these stories that, and I think I mentioned this on like our quick little overview, it's one of these things where you don't get a ton of exposition. Like you kind of get like the general like quick history backstory, but then you're just thrown right into it. Right. And you just have to accept what's happening. And I always love that out of sci-fi.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Where you're lost for like the good first chunk of what you're reading, watching, whatever. but then you start to settle into the world. It makes it a lot more immersive than like the cheesy, expositional dialogue,
Well,
that you get
and
in like old Power Rangers or something.
and one thing we can say about this before we get too much further into this issue is that this is the difference between trying to write a story in an established continuity in a shared universe world with characters that are established, as opposed to writing something unique and original. Um,
Right.
Everything in this book is completely immersive. You don't have to take anything else into context outside of the pages of this book.
And
And
it's really a shame that we don't get more of it to this scale.
well, yeah, and that actually brings me to another point that we'll touch on if we have time after we get through these 5 issues, which they do blow by pretty quickly.
Oh yeah.
So if we have time, I do have another topic I want to bring up. Just remind me because I am dipping into the bourbon again. So
Okay.
anyway, as we read on, we kind of get the idea of what the message is, and the message is the prophecy of the end times. Okay, that's the easiest way to boil it down. It is the prophecy of the apocalypse, the coming of the beast, and the destruction of the world. Well, you remember how Death wasn't with the Horsemen when they were reborn?
I vaguely remember something to that fact.
Well, that's because he didn't die with the Horsemen. Death is still alive and walking around, and he's got two Native American type witches with him, and they walk into a bar. Sounds like the beginning of a really bad joke, doesn't it?
Or a really good joke.
So Death walks into the bar, and the barkeep, asks him what he wants, and as he notices what kind of company Death is in, he doesn't know who Death is in the beginning, which kind of is frightening to me because obviously Death is an actual white person, like he is ghost white, wearing all white.
Like he would make Richard Spencer jealous.
He would, but he does have a place in the ethno state, in case you're wondering.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
the guy is like, I can serve you, but this is a union bar, and we don't serve your companion's kind around here. Death explains, well, neither one of my companions will be drinking. The drinks are for me. And he orders 3 shots for himself, which is a man after my own heart.
I was going to say, sounds like you.
Well, the thing is, I've, not to pull a Tonka saw here, but I am a little Native American myself, so, walking into the bar and being told we don't serve your kind wouldn't end too well with me, but.
Well, see, I just assume if I were to ever make it down to Arkansas, we'd meet up for a drink, and because I'm a dirty Yankee, they wouldn't serve me, and you'd still order 3 shots just for yourself.
Correct. That is exactly how it would go down. But you have enough of a little bit of a drawl that it wouldn't matter.
Well, technically, I was born in Atlanta, so I'll just show my birth certificate.
Yeah, I mean, you're good. You're okay. But anyway, he proceeds to toast to the Union soldiers and says, "To the fall of an empire, or to the fall of empires." And well, the soldiers don't seem to take too kind to the Native American witches, one being a half-naked, solid black woman with white hair.
I'm pretty sure
she's
like basically naked except the loincloth.
And the thing around her neck, and the fact, well, you can't see her nipples, so she doesn't have nipples. So that makes me think that she's got some kind of covering. But she's a witch, so what are you going to do? And then the other witch is a solid white man with, a lot of black eyeliner and 3 feathers in his hair. Very stereotypical, but what are you going to do? These are Wolf
Right.
and Crow, respectively. Wolf is the white one, Crow is the black one. They will very quickly become two of your favorite characters. Probably
Oh yeah,
within
they're
these
great.
pages.
They're fantastic. Now,
But,
I just want to point out, and
yeah.
the design of the Union soldiers is so cool.
Yeah, they look like
Like,
Confederates, like Confederates. Well, they actually kind of look like Civil War soldiers with a little bit of a modern twist to them.
yeah, because we're in 2064 or something like that is what
Something
this.
like that. Yeah, this is the first year of the apocalypse.
Yeah, and I love how they still have like the big ass knives and stuff, and still keep the color scheme from the Civil War.
Well, you
Have the
tell
big
me,
U.S.
you give me a timeline when knives are not going to be useful, and I will give you the end of the
Well,
world.
okay, that's fair.
But anyway, Death continues to drink his drinks, and one of the Union soldiers steps out of line and pokes his finger in Wolf's chest and says, "Understand me, Chief?" And well, then you kind of get one of the better parts of this catalog. When action is happening, not everything is shown in panel because, well, that would take a little too long. But you
Yeah,
get the gist of what's happening, as you can see of what I've pulled up on screen here, where Death is just calmly finishing his last drink while Wolf and Crow proceed to murder everyone in the bar except the barkeep.
which is proper manners.
Correct.
You always leave the barkeep alone.
Well, somebody's got to pour the drinks.
Exactly.
And then you get one of the most badass lines in the entire series, I think, at least so far. And Death has a million of these throughout the book, so they're kind of hard to rank. But just bear with me, and at least in this issue, it's one of the most badass things. He's going over the idea of how just dreadful this guy's face looks when Wolf and Crow just go to town on the soldiers behind him. And the reason that I think they do this is twofold. First off, they don't want to give up too much of the game, which
Yeah.
is they don't want to explain exactly how much Wolf and Crow are witches and how they fight and all that good shit. But secondly, they want to compact a lot of action into a single page. And I think it's pulled off masterfully here. And with the lettering work, like you see the sound effects just kind of overlapping one another and running off the pages, and
Yeah.
it just
Like it's chaotic. Like the background is chaotic, but there's like an eerie calm in the way that Death is drawn while he talks to the barkeep and just finishes his drinks.
hmm
And
but
it's
but at the end of
done just so well. Get
but
like little flashes of blood
blood,
flying up
feathers,
and
knives,
hands.
hands, and feet.
Yeah, that's great.
But at the end of his little soliloquy here, he says, fear is real. Now look at me and see something worse. And you get this pan in of just death blue eyes. And it's the most powerful thing to that point. It really just kind of drives the character home as to how badass this motherfucker is.
Yeah. Well,
But
that's the first time we really see his face too.
yeah,
Like it's all shadowed up until that point.
right. And then you kind of get a little bit of flashback into Death's past, and you see that these two have crossed paths before when Death was in his previous form, which was an all black figure. So something's happened to Death to change his appearance from all black to all white. Um, and it's a supernatural element to the book, but you're dealing with an apocalyptic time, and you find out that Death is only approaching this bar and this man so that he can find the location of the chosen that we talked about earlier. One leader, not necessarily the overall leader of either nation, but one leader from each nation that makes up the chosen.
Right.
So they split ways and decide to meet back up later. And then,
Well, and you're skipping over the talking eyeball.
yeah, well, I can't really explain the talking eyeball right now because I know
But
the
there's
origin of it.
there's a talking eyeball that pops out of the
Fine,
guy's eye
we'll
patch.
talk
That's
about
all
the
we need
talk.
to. That's all we need to say. And just
Fine,
pull up the image.
we'll pull up the talking eyeball and talk about it
All
for a
right,
second.
because that is my favorite character so far.
Well, there are two of them. You haven't met the second one yet,
Oh, okay.
and you don't know where they came from yet, but I do, and I don't want to spoil that for you because I think this is such a fantastic book. But anyway, the talking eyeball gives up the game, and Death puts his gun in this barkeep's mouth, who you find out is a hunter. He's Atlas and a hunter. He's a very important person to the story, which will come about later on, and you'll be able to kind of figure out a little more about who he is. But he's part of an elite group of people who supposedly can find anything or anyone at any time. And that's why Death has gone to him to find the locations of the Chosen. And after, in exchange for his life, he gives up the game on the other Chosen. He walks out, and again, Wolf and Crow and Death all part ways. So that's
You
where
know,
we go ahead.
he Death kind of looks like Patrick Warburton in some of these images.
I wouldn't mind Death being. I'm going to read him in that voice from now on, and I hate you.
I am too. I am too. So
I do hate you for that a lot. But let's see. Oh yeah. Then you check back in with the three horsemen who were once four. There's a little concern for Danielle in the chat. You have any idea on if she's still alive?
she's alive and did actually wake up in her bathroom.
Called it. The Prophet Church, victorious again. But you check back in on these guys, and the aesthetic of the three of the four horsemen of Apocalypse beyond me. But I never, as many times as I've read this particular series, like as many times as I've read these first couple of books, I've never actually understood exactly why they were doing what they're doing here. But maybe it's just for the sheer fun of it. But they killed an unruly amount of people, and they're essentially forming their bodies into the 3 or 4 triangle symbol that you see at the beginning of the story on the main cover. But they give a little bit of dialogue about how they hate being reborn as children. It kind of sucks. They grow into their forms and everything. They make reference to how they were different before and all that stuff. And one of their victims is still alive and says something about the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And one of their victims says, "There's only 3 of you." And the 3 of them just kind of look over him and stomp the shit out of him.
Yeah. Fucking curb stomp.
Yeah. And then you cut over to an area called the White Tower, which you'll later find out is the base of the Union, right?
Yeah.
And the president is there, and Death just kind of knocks on his door and walks in. And they start to have
are you going to tell Death no?
You can't.
Yeah.
There's nothing more inevitable than death. But they're having a conversation, and like the brave man that he is, the president decides he's going to try and run without giving Death any information. And well, that doesn't work out too well because if the
No.
president gets outside, he realizes that everyone outside of his office is dead, and death just basically blows his leg off. And this is where you kind of get an aesthetic for the actual setting because, like you mentioned before, the Union soldiers, they had knives, they were dressed classically almost. Death is walking around with a 6-shooter pistol. And this is the future with lasers and future tech and all kind of shit. And Death is walking around like a damn cowboy. So you've got a mix of like sci-fi and western here. Excuse me. And it just works for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It doesn't feel like it should work. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm a big fan of the Firefly show, which is kind of like sci-fi western.
Well,
so that kind of
so is Star Wars, but again, nobody in Firefly carried a 6-shooter.
Did
Did they?
the main the captain of the ship. It was like a futuristic-y look 6-shooter looking pistol, but yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, like, nobody carried a classic Colt 45 6-shooter, or not a Colt 45, that's a malt liquor. Like a Colt 6-shooter.
No, you're right. A Colt 45. It's a 45.
Oh yeah, okay. Sorry,
it's a malt liquor. Jesus Christ, church.
Look, my blackness was showing. Give me a break. I apologize, but look, I've seen a lot of Billy D. Williams commercials. Okay.
Yeah, you mentioned Star Wars, and that just
it's a natural progression.
Having flashbacks.
Nothing's better than a cold Colt 45.
Just to be probably one of the most racist commercials ever.
Look, right. Billy D got paid. I don't give a shit. But anyway, yeah, Death essentially shoots him in the leg to get his information, and he basically pulls one of the most badass things I think I've ever seen. He has this whole fixation, like he won't kill you until you say his name. So once the president finally says his name, he blows him right to hell, which it's beautiful. Like I said, the artwork in this book, it's a good. I feel like I'm just being very repetitive, but
yeah, that tends to happen when we look at these types of stories.
It's just, again, you get the clattered background with just the splatters and everything. And this is one of the instances where a minimalist background actually emphasizes the foreground art, and it's actually okay. It's not lazy.
Yeah.
Let me just say how much I respect the fact that they blatantly put 5 shots there instead of a magic infinite gun. Because he already put one in the president's leg. I did like that. He already put one.
That made me happy.
Yeah, he already put one in the president's leg, so we only had 5 left. So that's all he shot.
Because what you rewatched the scene where he's first, like he's back in the shooting range, like firing off to see which one of us was right.
Who was right?
We still don't know. There's like a weird. You can't quite tell if it's a shot going off or like a weird, like something weird with like the
like an echo
like
or
yeah. It's hard to tell because he kind of does like a couple, and then like the last few he does like really fast, and it's hard to tell if it's like kind of that echo, like that back echo from the shot going off or not. So we still don't know. But
now, another thing that you kind of come to notice in these pages is, first off, Death has amazing stain resistance on his clothes because as many people as he killed, he's never covered in blood. But
I mean, he is Death. He should be pretty good at that.
But Secondly, you kind of get the idea that even though these people that he's tracking down are quote unquote the chosen to bring about the end of days, Death going after them seems to indicate that he has an alternative agenda that is no longer being a horseman of the apocalypse to bring about the end times. But the final page of
Like he's sick of their shit.
the final page of the book is him walking off and thinking to himself, "You wanted the end times. Well, here they are," talking about himself. And again, it's just you. There is no more badass character in this book than Death himself.
Yeah, no, he's.
And you'll find
I
out
mean,
why.
he rides a laser face horse cricket thing.
Yeah. You'll find out why he's the most badass character in this book as we go forward. I think they express it in the first volume. You know, I don't think they make you wait 5 issues to find out what his overall goal is, what he's looking for. But I'm not going to spoil it here. So, and then at the final page, they do kind of give you a breakdown of the division of the world. You have the Republic of Texas. You've got it's divided into 8 sections. You've got the Union, which is Section 1, which is the Northeast. The Southeast is the Confederacy. Louisiana area, past the Mississippi and all that, is the Kingdom. Armistice is that big circle right in the middle. That's the ground zero for the explosion that led to the message being written and the end of days being foretold. You've got the Burning Plain, which is part of the Endless Nation, but is forbidden land in the Endless Nation. With more lore you'll kind of get to later on. Endless Nation is number 6, which is the Midwest North, and bordering Canada. The Republic of Texas, which is number 7 on the map, and number 8 is the PRA, the Chinese occupied area. And then each book ends with this exact same quote, and it sends chills down your spine every fucking time you read it. "We would tell you to pray, but it wouldn't do any good. You've earned what's coming to you." And that's where issue 1 leaves off. So you're really no better or worse of knowing what the fuck is going on. But
basically, people are dying.
Yeah, buildings burn and people die, and everyone's going to hell. But I mean, that's issue 1 for you. Not the entirety of volume 1, but what do you remember what your thoughts were after you read that first issue? Do you remember how you felt?
Oh, I just wanted to keep going.
Yeah, but
that's basically where I was at. Like, oh, okay, this is gonna be fun.
the way I personify that is, I'm in. And I don't know if we're gonna make it through 4 more issues in an hour, but we'll try. We will try.
Well, we can probably go a little bit faster this time.
Yeah. So issue 2, this is a little more exposition-y than issue 1. I feel like issue 1 is more or less getting you hooked in.
Yeah.
But
still not a ton though.
No, but
and what they do have is done very well.
Yeah. Basically the first part of issue 1, and I really like the way they break down the storylines. But the first part of issue 1 is the remaining 3 horsemen going through the cabinet of the president that Death just killed to select their chosen person to become the president. They basically just go down the cabinet until they find a true believer.
Yeah, they basically just kill every next person in line until they find somebody they're cool with.
Right. And then you kind of get an idea for how the books are broken up in the next page. Well, I guess I'll just leave that up. I just got to flip it over.
Can I just say I love the extending flaming sword weapon thing?
Oh, yeah. But
I want one. Elon Musk, get on that. Make that your new random thing that you sell.
I want a chainsaw, like a chainsaw sword. Is that a thing yet? Can I have that? I think someone's built one, but I want one.
Probably.
But you get little pieces of the message as well in between the opening scenes. Like it's almost like an intro to a television show. And
Yeah.
I really hope that that's not the way this was written so that it could become a television show because that would just break my heart. But if
Well,
it,
this was what 2013, right?
I think so, yeah.
We weren't quite at that stage where they were making everything a goddamn TV show.
Well, I mean, they've been trying to make Lock and Key a TV show since then.
Yeah, but I mean that's also Joe Hill has those connections to like the multimedia storytelling realm.
But you get little pieces of the message, quote unquote, and in between each chapter, and that's like your little intro as compared to just going from break to break like they do in 52, where it's just like you turn the page and hey, you're on a new day.
Yeah.
Now we open back up with the meeting place where Death has said that he would meet Wolf and Crow at the Golden Bridge. And then they have, a conversation discussing their next course.
Hold on. You're skipping over how Wolf just kills a bison and just throws the thing over his shoulder and carries it back to camp and cooks the entire damn thing on a spindle.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, you got to tell me what you want to see here so that I can know to pull it up. I mean, if I could, I would just read the entire book to the audience. Okay.
Well, yeah.
But
because I mean that's.
But yeah.
Again, you said you'll start to Wolf and Crow will start to become your favorite characters going forward, and this is one of the. This is one of the ones I was like, okay, I like this guy. It doesn't cut up the damn thing; just cooks the entire thing whole. Cuts the head off, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
How do you cook a bison, right?
And then is sitting there eating an entire leg.
Right. Well, I mean, he's a growing boy.
Yeah.
If you can carry a bison, you have to be able to have a whole haunch to yourself at least.
I would assume.
But they're just kind of discussing their game plan, where they're going from here, and they allude to Death having a plan, but again, you really have no idea what he's doing yet, and it gets a little frustrating. Honestly, at this point, when you're trying to figure out, okay, what's this guy's motivation? What is he fucking doing? But then it's kind of cut short, and you're introduced to the Chosen. They're given a brief introduction. You've got the Keeper of the Message, Ezra Orion. You've got Hu from the House of Mao, who is a representative for her father. You've got Chevejo, who you'll later find out is Wolf's father. You've got Archibald Chamberlain, who is a member of the Confederacy. He's not even the president of the Confederacy, but he's a member. And they're introducing the new president of the Union, who is this menacing-looking, long-haired woman.
And I love Archibald Chamberlain.
Oh, yeah. It's a toss-up between Archibald and Belle Solomon of who are my favorite people. But you also have John Freeman, who is a representative from the kingdom. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, Chamberlain's he's just so, like, politely diabolical. I just love it.
Yeah, he's like if Colonel Sanders was a motherfucker.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he kind of was, but...
No, I mean, if Colonel Sanders was publicly a motherfucker.
Oh, okay.
But you realize that this whole message deal, this whole Apocrypha deal, it's all basically a religion. And there are people in the actual world that know about it. But the Chosen are a secret society who are gathered to meet in private and, supposedly under neutral grounds and all that good shit to discuss the furthering of the end of days. Now, John Freeman and Chivejo are prominent members of societies who are looked down upon because of their belief, and to the point where Chivejo, the man from the Endless Nation, is the chief who walked away. He no longer leads the Endless Nation, and he has actually been cast out. But Archibald and Bell Solomon and Who and John Freeman and the president of the union are all still firmly rooted in their government.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Feel better? Was that you? That was you.
I couldn't resist.
Okay, all right. Soundboard is not a toy. Not a toy, Ayrton.
Yes, it is.
It is a toy. I'm sorry. Fucked up my entire flow of concentration. How's it going,
I'm sorry.
Dad?
Couldn't help myself.
But anyway, moving on. Trevejo is basically the only one who's had to sacrifice, his standing for this religion, because the Endless Nation doesn't really believe, so to speak. Now, later on, there will be meetings between several of these people again that will have nothing to do with them being quote-unquote chosen. And it gets a little bit confusing at first until you realize the political intrigue and espionage angle that's being written in as well. But
because it's Jonathan Hickman, and you know,
well, he's
good at that.
Yeah, he loves to make genres fucking have babies and make those babies fucking have other babies. Until you get exactly what he wants. But this is just a really good place to kind of catch up on, the meaning of the chosen, the origin of the word, the fact that all of these people have come together to attempt to bring about the end of days, and the fact that none of them really trust one another. None of them really like one another, but they all have to kind of get along because they're all quote-unquote chosen.
Yeah.
Now, one thing is that there's never really a descriptor given as to why the chosen are quote-unquote chosen. But after this meeting, Archibald Chamberlain leaves, and mainly because he was there specifically to meet with the new president. And he explains, well, I've got better shit to do than this. I'm going to go ahead and head out. And I will pull this up because their uniforms here, I think everybody will kind of get a kick out of them. These are the Confederacy uniforms.
Oh, yeah. Motherfuckers still carrying swords and long-ass guns. I love it.
Oh, yeah. And they still...
with pistol grips.
Well, how about their fucking headgear that's got the... That's got the stars and bars on it. Yeah. But, he walks into his office, and who's there waiting on him? But death.
And I think this is the part that made me like him so much, is he just gives no fucks. He just pours a drink and lights a cigar.
What else are you going to do when death is staring you in the face with a gun? You're going to be like, well, might as well enjoy it. See if
that's fair.
See if old Archibald can talk his way out of this one. Which is exactly what he does. But you find out exactly, not exactly, but you find out that the chosen know what death is looking for, and that's why he's looking for them. Now, the fact that he doesn't just blow Archibald away is an amazing testament to Chamberlain's, I don't know, ability
Silver
with
tongue.
words. Yeah, ability with words.
Yeah.
And then you get, you find out that he's looking for his wife. Death is looking for his wife. Now, Death getting married, a horseman of apocalypse getting married, that was a trope that I had never heard of before.
Yeah, I was when I read that I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
All right then. He
So,
also has that yellow fever.
hey, he was a black man, Ayrton.
I like how it took you a few tries to say that sentence in
I
that context.
I was wondering if it was okay or not, and then I said, wait a minute, I'm trying to get banned anyway. So. And that sets him on a completely different path. But obviously, from the trappings, you can find out that his wife is, a member of the PRA royal family, and her hands are encased in metal. Now, you'll find out a lot more about that as we go forward, but that's the end of issue 2. I guess you are right. It does kind of go a little bit faster after issue 1 once you explain the basics.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of character introduction in this first little bit, but
Now,
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is asshole.
I should have never given you the keys. I should have never given you the command.
that is the perfect introduction to issue 3, and you know it.
It is. So, issue 3. Now, hold on, let me get there. Issue 3 opens up with the sister of Death's wife taunting her, essentially. The sister hates her for what she's done or whatever. And you don't really understand why. Like, yeah, I can understand that it's kind of bad mojo to marry Death. But what are you going to do? You marry who you marry.
Yeah, shit happens.
But they have a little snarky back and forth. And again, you see that Zhu is her name, I believe, right? Zhao? No.
Where is it?
I can't remember exactly.
Oh yeah, Zhao
Zhao Lin
is
yeah.
how. Yeah.
But the sister has come to summon her because the father has requested both of them be present, and it seems innocuous enough. But you also get a little bit of a backstory, and this is where you see that the horseman had previously been oppositely gendered. I thought it was pretty interesting. I didn't really read any SJW into it. Like, it seemed like it made sense that their gender wouldn't really matter as the Horsemen of Apocalypse. They just needed bodies. Which makes me wonder, if Death had died, would he have come back a woman?
I mean, that's what it looks like would have happened, judging by the other 3.
2 and 2, but previously, Pestilence was a man, Conquest and War were both women, and Death was a man. And they had all encountered Zhao Lin as well. They, along with her sister, had encountered her, and it didn't seem to end well for Zhao Lin. But afterwards, you cut back to the original bar, and there's nobody inside because obviously Death had killed everyone that went in there one time, and well, I guess it's kind of hard to get patronage back to a joint like that.
And, he sure did, get it cleaned up pretty well.
He did. He did a good job. Just like Weatherman, son. I thought Death was a girl and banging Deadpool. That's a previous life. This is 2064. Death has died a couple of times. Florida Man ran into Bermuda on a floating ball. I don't want the Florida Man comic. Just wait for Cash Grab by Cecil. I'm pretty sure that's basically Florida Man in comic form. But anyway, the three remaining horsemen walk in, and they order some drinks, inquire as to what Death had been doing there and what he wanted. And again, I mean, this motherfucker is just not good with information. Like, you should never tell a barkeep any of your secrets. Because he will spill the beans. Yeah, he will spill the beans just to keep his own fucking skin. Well, actually, let me refrain. Because this is where I was going to bring up the eyeball, but, Ayrton made me bring it up a little earlier. Because this is the much cooler introduction.
It is. Is it weird that I think the eyeball's kind of cute? Like, I want one as a pet. Just like sit on my shoulder.
Just don't lose an eye so he doesn't have to live in your socket. But yeah.
Yeah. But, I feel like I need to call HR after that.
But anyway, the eyeball basically spills the beans that Death was there, and he was looking for the Chosen. But this is where you kind of get an idea for the origin of this guy. He pulls up this giant like holographic globe out of the middle of the floor and points to the whereabouts of of Death, and they say that Death is in New Shanghai. So Death is going to find his wife. And then you kind of cut back over to Death and his two Native American witches. And indeed, they are walking through New Shanghai, which you get a decent cut of what appears to be a miniature Golden Gate Bridge, or maybe it is the Golden Gate Bridge, but it's very Asianized.
It has like the little make odd dream come true.
But then you have the leader of the House of Mao talking to his two daughters, one of which is restrained. And he informs Hu to remove his other daughter's restraints. I'm gonna go ahead and give you a little forewarning here. That's a bad idea for him to do that.
He also choke slams her first.
Well, yeah. But anyway, he gets word that Death and company have stormed the city and are just slaughtering people en masse. And he sends the troops out on them, but you don't really fight Death. Like,
and so I just want to point out again the uniforms for the soldiers. Each one that we've seen so far is so like stylized, and I like how this is like the most like robotic, futuristic out of all of them. Right? Kind of racist, but makes sense.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, Death explains that there's going to be no quarter. The Great Wall will be coming down, and this is probably the fastest issue to date because that's the end. A couple of encampments or whatever, but basically wherever Death and company follow, like destruction is just laid in their wake if you're standing in their way.
Yeah.
And he explains that you go ahead and take your message back that the wall's coming down, and well, judgment will follow shortly. So I don't know. I just love these proclamations by Death. Like he doesn't mince words. He's not like, well, we can sit down and talk about it. No, I'm getting what I want. Fuck y'all. Fuck everything about this. Don't play with me. I'm gonna kill everything and let you give me what I want. Which I think is how it should be, right?
Yeah. I mean, and if you're death, you don't really have to be polite, right?
I don't think have to be really factors into anything for death. Honestly,
Yeah, true.
I mean it's fucking death there. But let's see, and that shit. We're already at issue 5.
Let's see. I told you we'd make it through.
Okay. Well, issue 5 opens up with it's a little bit weird. The introduction's very short on this one. It's only a page, but it introduces us to the lair of the beast, which is, in the middle of a forested area. And it says, I've never been here before. And it's Bell Solomon talking to Chamberlain. And he's like, this place terrifies me. How do you stand coming here? And Chamberlain says, I frequent this establishment as often as possible. I love the zoo. And I think at the end of this issue, you kind of get an idea of what he's talking about. But the little tagline is "Born of the East, child of the West, the one true son of America." And you have no idea what they're talking about. But this is just the lair of the beast, quote unquote. You just see a lot of machinery and an overview. So
Wait, am I?
that's issue 5. Yeah.
Wait. Okay.
What?
Wait, no, we still do have to do issue 4. 3 and 4 just run together so much.
Oh, am I? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did skip issue 4. My bad, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Because 4 is the crazy fight scene where we get to see all the insanity.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
That this book has to offer.
Sorry.
Because up until this point, we don't know why they're called Wolf and Crow, and now we get to see why, and I love it.
Well, that's the cover there, but yeah, we'll.
And the laser face horse.
Yeah.
And my voice just decided to stop.
Yeah. So the intro for this one's also short. It's just 2 pages, but the leader of the House of Mao asks his daughter, tell me, little flower, was it worth it? And she remembers kissing death, and she just grins and says yes. Now she's been imprisoned for God, what? Years now, right?
Yeah.
A while. But she's been imprisoned in her own country by her own father.
At least she got the garden, though.
Yeah.
That was nice of him.
And he visited her, but that was the only human contact that she had. But that's the intro for this one. It's just short and sweet. But anyway, you get to see the vastness and ferocity of the PRA army. They have 2 brands of soldiers, Widowmakers and Dragons, and these motherfuckers are just relentless. Like you think about like the Unsullied from Game of Thrones or any other essentially unstoppable force in any army or whatever, the Crusaders. Novel Bro is probably a little bit better than I am in regard to that. But
The Berserkers.
Yeah.
The Vikings were just high off their asses and just sent into battle.
Yeah. But Death and Wolf and Crow just essentially mow their way through them. And here you get to see the laser horse just firing off, which is just amazing. Like, he's literally riding a cannon.
I want one.
I assumed you would. Like, Ayrton's like, I'm buying an old car. I'm like, well, you should probably get something a little newer. This is what he thought of immediately.
Yeah, it's either that 50-year-old car or laser cannon face horse thing.
But yeah, I'll,
no in between.
I'll pull up the scene where you get the idea of why they're called Crow and Wolf.
It's just so cool.
Yeah. And it just adds a level of mysticism, and like I said, just there's so many genres and so many tropes being used here, but they're used so seamlessly and so flawlessly that it all works. Like once you suspend your disbelief for the story, you're in for a hell of a ride because you
Oh
never
yeah.
see the next little bit coming. Like you're telling me these motherfuckers just turn into flocks of crows and packs of wolves? Yes, that's what I'm telling you.
And you're just like, all right then.
Yeah, I mean that's what I said. I said that.
Yeah.
What of it?
Yeah, no more explanation needed.
Right.
Just move on with the fun,
But
which is how comics should be. God damn it.
yeah.
Anyways,
Now that I've gotten that out of the way, are you satisfied there?
Yeah,
Okay. But inevitably they do mow their way through the armies and whatever. And at that point, Hugh tries to kill her sister. And for the second day in a row, we get to see someone crush somebody's head on panel.
welcome to the theme for January, folks.
Well, I mean, January is almost over. But that would have been a hell of a theme, just scour through comics until we found evidence of head crushing. But yeah, she crushes her own sister.
Can I make one complaint though?
Sure.
As cool as the design of that sword that she uses is, totally impractical.
What do you mean?
Well, the way it folds out, like, how is it, like, it would have no structural integrity. It would just snap in half.
This is 2064 here.
Unless it's like really powerful magnets.
They've gotten past that at this point. Calm down.
I guess. I mean, it's cool, just impractical. That's all I'm saying.
But then she, has a little dialogue with her father, and she offers her father the honor of being killed by her. And then she just takes over.
What a big dick move right there.
Yeah, essentially, like, I'm not going to let my husband kill you. I'm not going to let his cohorts kill you. I'm going to give you the option to let me kill you, and then I'll just take over. Because you were nice enough to come visit me in the garden, I'll do this for you. I'll kill you. Like it's a fucking favor, right? But
I wonder if that'll work with other things. Like, I'm about, like, someone asks you a really stupid question, just be like, all right, hold up. I'm about to give you the honor of a very snarky and sarcastic answer.
Yeah.
So you should appreciate this.
Now, after that, she calls a ceasefire between her troops and stops them from attacking Death and his guys, which, again, 3 people, well, Death and 2 witches that can turn into a flock of crows and a pack of wolves, took out essentially the entire army. At least held them off long enough for her to commit regicide and, stop the war from happening.
Oh, responding to Captain Weave in the chat. Hi, by the way. Yes, this is worth a buy.
Oh yeah, 100%, every bit of it. This is probably one of my favorite indie comics of all time. Like, this is something that will be on my shelf from now until the day that I die. It's one of the it's the first comic book that I found by Jonathan Hickman after I read Secret Wars and said, man, I really love this guy's writing. What else did he write? And it's been better than Secret Wars as a whole, because Hickman didn't write all of it. But I'm up to issue 30 so far. And yeah, unless the ending just takes a massive dump. Like, unless there's just a massive pile of stinking turds at the end of the Yellow Brick Road at the ending, then I might revise review of it, but yeah, this is worth the buy. So anyway, you see that Archibald in bed with several women here is viewing the situation on a view screen. Like, I don't know how he has cameras everywhere, but he's Archibald fucking Chamberlain, so of course he does.
And again, 3 naked women in bed while smoking a cigar, watching somebody be beheaded.
Mm-hmm.
How is this guy not the coolest dude in this book?
I mean, he
I
is.
dare,
Well,
I dare
death.
anybody listening to disagree.
After death.
Well,
death is much
it's in
cooler.
a different sort of way, though.
Death could have 3 bitches and a cigar if he wanted to. It's just not his prerogative.
Right.
He's got other things on his mind right now.
Yeah.
But again, you see the 3 horsemen of the apocalypse show up to confront Archibald Chamberlain because Death had been there to confront them. And again, he explains that, you know, he just basically talks him. He just like, you know, why should I fear you guys? And he just goes down the list, and this is, again, I'm gonna read this part just because it's so fucking good. But he goes down the list, and he just takes all their numbers. Like, this does kind of lead to his job and worrying less about mine. And Ward just is like, you dare, and he's like, oh, indeed I do. What is there to fear here? You? Boy, I've known war all my life. Conquest? Pfft, I'm a conquistador. Famine? Well, lean times are for the peasants, aren't they? And do I not look like a man whose wants have long surpassed his needs? All I fear is one thing, and it's the same thing you do. Death. He just scoffs in the face of every other horseman.
After casually just putting a robe on, and I'm assuming the hoes are still laying naked in bed for some reason.
Oh yeah, shitting themselves with fear. But
yeah,
I guess I'll leave that up for a second. But yeah, the final scene in the book is Xylan walking forward to confront Death, and him kneeling before her, which, I mean, it's a powerful image because you've just seen this guy just basically walk through every obstacle that's come his way, and he encounters this woman who just beheaded her father, and he does something that he must not be accustomed to. You know, that's just something you can't imagine Death ever doing, and that's kneeling before the woman that he loves. And it's, again, everything is just so well thought out, and everything is just so impactful. Like, there's not a wasted square inch of artwork in this book.
And how impactful is that too? Like, when I read that, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. But
man, that must be some, like, she must have like a rockin' ass to get Death to fucking kneel down in front of her. Like, right?
Well, I mean, something, but anyway, we already talked about the intro of the Lair of the Beast in issue 5.
You know, I think I just figured it out.
Go ahead.
She must be able. Okay, I'm assuming she's flexible enough to just be able to ride his dick while simultaneously bending down and painting his taint or sucking on his balls. I assume that's the only logical explanation, right?
You know, that's not an image I ever wanted to have in my head, and I hate you a little bit for putting it there. God damn it! Why are you? I mean, is that a question that I can ask? Like, just why are you?
You're fired.
my favorite thing, scored up, like looking at the book right now.
Yeah.
It'll say like, finish playing, you're fired. Like a little Discord notification pops up.
Yeah. Yeah, it goes away if you don't interact No, she too Chinese. She too dumb. She eat dog. Yum, yum, yum. Oh, man. But no. Anyway.
No, but see, Novel Bro, if a chick did or was able to physically do that, you would probably kneel down in front of her.
Getting back to it, issue 5 is just kind of a recap of a lot of things. And it goes back through their relationship. But you do find out one very key critical point. I mean, the rest of it just a lot of, kind of exposition. It goes back through their past and their marriage and all of that stuff. But
Yeah, and that was something else I wanted to point out is the use of the subtle change in the coloring between like the main story and flashbacks.
yeah. Well,
Like it seems like the flashbacks almost are like printed on like newsprint.
well, they're printed with this haze of memory. Oh, I can't show that. Shit. There's nipple there. Anyway, I don't know if you guys saw that. I hope you did. But Death had a kid.
Oh, that page.
Yeah,
Okay.
Death had a kid. I forget that there's nudity in this book. My bad. We know our audience, Novel Bro. But Death rode off and left her alone with their child, and she thinks that their kid is just taken, like has been taken from them. I don't know if she believes the kid is dead or not, but she knows that her hands were severed by, her sister and the three horsemen, and her child was abducted. And she's just dressing Death right the fuck down about abandoning her and
being a deadbeat dad.
yeah. But you find out that are we still online? Let me make sure we didn't get pulled down for the nipple. I don't think we did. I don't think anything caught it. But he's talking about their son, and she burst into tears, and Death explains our son is alive. And then you flash over to the lair of the beast, and Death explains that our son's alive because they believe he's the beast of the apocalypse. And you see this kid, and he's just completely enveloped in machinery, and just it's creepy as shit. It's almost Borg-like. It's very Borgish if you're a Star Trek person.
Yeah, it's like, it creeps me out. I don't want to look at that page anymore.
But this goes back to the conversation between Chamberlain and Archibald, and they're explaining that, that this is all, this is all a plot to bring about the end times, and Bell Solomon wants to stop it. And Chamberlain's like, why would I help you stop it? And he's like, because it's right and it's just, and that's the old Texas Ranger justice system in him, or whatever. But you get another shot of the kid and his, his disposition.
Yeah.
Pull that back up. And you see that this device that's attached to him is just feeding information into him and quizzing him constantly. So even at a young age, I mean, he's running complex algorithms, he's reciting poetry, all of that stuff. And when the device asks him, how do you feel? He just says, I don't know what that means. And that's just, it's almost heartbreaking, right?
Yeah, and
Like,
super creepy.
It twisted your fucking gut that this little kid is just completely and utterly just devoid of emotion and being fed information from these machines and being groomed to become the destroyer of worlds. Um, Now, I'm not sure how this machine's capable of doing that, but again, you suspend your disbelief far enough at this point and just you fucking go with it. Sure, the 6-year-old's gonna fucking end shit. Like, do not fuck with him.
Right.
But Bell is obviously having a break in consciousness, and he wants Chamberlain to throw in with him and just dismantle the whole operation. And it feels like Chamberlain kind of goes along with it to a certain degree.
Only to the fact that it might benefit him.
Right. Well, that's the only.
That's at least how I viewed it.
That's the only reason Chamberlain does anything. And then you cut back to Xylin and Death. They're having a conversation, and they're talking about how, hey, bring my kid back, and if you don't, there's nowhere on earth you can hide from me. And this is the woman talking to Death.
Right.
I mean, that's just
like, again, she's just slapping everybody with her dick.
Yeah. Probably Death as well. But Death explains, look, I got this. I'll save him, and after that, I'm coming back here for you. God help anyone who tries to get in my way. And I've got to say, just even after just 5 issues, these these single full page spreads at the end of the issue that just signifies the end of the story.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite one.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the easiest ones too, but they're just so beautiful. Like, honestly, they all need to be fucking posters.
Posters, making a fucking painting with like a frame and shit.
You know what I mean. But yeah, that's East of West Volume 1, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what you guys think, but again, this is absolutely 100% one of my favorite books that I've read in recent years. It's modern comics to a T. It takes the depth of tropes and it turns them on their heads. You don't have to stay within the realm of sci-fi. You don't have to stay within the realm of a Western. You don't have to try and recreate Star Wars to merge the two. You don't have to, have just a political thriller set in modern times. You don't have to have everything be techie and futuristic in a futuristic setting. If you put the agents of death in there, they can look different from everybody else, and people just fucking accept it for some reason. Why not?
Right.
I mean, what are you gonna do? But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I'm super excited to hopefully have some free time this week to read some more of this. That's where I'm at, and I think I might actually have some extra time this week.
All right.
So that's good timing on. It's almost like we planned this.
No, we never do. We never plan this. There is no planning. Like, Ayrton messaged me at like 4:00 today, and he was like, "What are we doing tonight?" And I was like, "I don't know, smoking crack." But
well, some friends wanted to hang out. I was like, "Well, let me see if I have to, read or do anything for the show first."
Look, man, if You just let me know. I'll work around it. I will just have you be ignorant. I don't mind giving you shit for not being prepared for the show after I told you don't have to be prepared for the show. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna one, save and screenshot all of our messages, just so I can be like, see, he said it doesn't matter
Look, that's
for
Photoshop.
this
I don't know what
episode.
he's talking about. All of our messages are fucking
Okay,
verbal.
nobody would believe that I know how to use Photoshop.
No, he doesn't, but he has one of his employees do it on their lunch break, or he threatened to fire him. See, he's told me this in a verbal conversation. You're spilling gas, I'll spill gas too, motherfucker. Think you're a better liar than me. You go fuck yourself. Think you can tell better truth than I can lie? Psh, please. But no. Anyway, it kind of brings me to another topic that I wanted to talk about at the end of the show. See, you didn't even have to remind me, and I've been drinking, bitch. But
I was getting ready to remind you. So
I need that soundbite. If anybody can find that, I need a clip of from Hancock the movie. If anybody can find like a short video clip or anything, I'll make the MP3. But I need the soundbite of Will Smith when the woman says, "I can smell liquor on your breath, Hancock," and he just responds, "'Cause I've been drinking, bitch." I need that soundbite for the board.
All right, give me a sec.
I'm not gonna upload it tonight. It's not a rush hurry thing. But I need that for the soundboard. So when anybody asks me a question and I can't answer it, what you're supposed to know that because I've been drinking, bitch. But
Let's
anyway,
see. Will this one do?
Yes, that's perfect.
All right.
Yeah, just DM me that.
All right.
I'll clip it down. That's perfect. But no, I wanted to bring this up last night, but I just didn't really have time because I was in the middle of watching people beat the shit out of each other. There's another favorite pastime of mine. But are there too many comics coming out every month?
Yes.
Simple enough. That's the show, everybody. Good night. Didn't even have to convince you, but yeah. When Comics Perch on Twitter. If you're not following that guy, you need to. If you give a shit about comic books in any form or fashion, or if you just want the one of the biggest smart asses on. I should probably know, and I do apologize, but I don't have time to watch shit on YouTube. But anyway, I think that Marvel and DC and a lot of these companies, they put out too many titles for a comic book store to keep up with on a monthly basis. I mean, when you're double shipping a title twice a month, that's excessive. That's excessive to the store. That's excessive to the customer. I mean, imagine if I wanted to read Batman. Okay, just for a second, imagine that I wanted to read Tom King's Batman, but they're double shipping that shit. That's $8 a month just for a Batman book. Okay, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you also add in the fact that I might want to read Green Lantern and I might want to read Spider-Man, and they double ship both of those books too. So now we're up to what, 24, 16 plus 8, yeah, $24.
Yeah. Well, let me just
on 3 titles.
Put a number. Let's put a, at least for my local shop. I get an email every week of what's being released. So this also includes like reprints and trade paperbacks and that kind of stuff. But quick math, just for this past Wednesday, 94 releases for this week.
Yeah.
94.
And that's in a week. I mean, and yes, that does cover a plethora of different people's choices and tastes. But easily that number should be cut in half, if not quartered. I mean, 20 books a week, 80 books a month. I mean, Marvel and DC shouldn't be putting out 100 different titles between the two of them every month.
Yeah.
No way in hell.
So that's 376 books that just my shop gets. That's not what's released. That's just what they order for the week.
Right. And again, that counts reprints, that counts trade paperbacks, and that's a rough
Yeah.
estimation. Like, there are short weeks and
Yeah.
there are long weeks. But you just can't keep up. And there's no way in anyone, like, I don't care if you're a fucking psychic. There's no way you can predict how many of any particular book you're going to need to order for a customer base. If a new Superman book comes out and it's written by somebody that's super popular and you order 15 of them, per se, but that writing or the art in it just garbage, okay? And nobody buys it because the art's just garbage. Or the storyline is trash, or people are fed up with Superman, or it's Miss Marvel's 15th reincarnation. Then you're stuck sitting on those books. There's no returnability, which we haven't done this in a while. Let me give my my plug for Alterna. Full returnability to any comic book store that orders their books. If it doesn't sell, send it back. They'll give you credit, or they'll ship you new books of a different title.
There you go. Peter Cimenti for the win.
But even so, like, no publisher in their right fucking mind that, like, no publisher should be putting out more than 25 titles a month.
Yeah.
I know that sounds confining. I know but the bar needs to be raised first and foremost. Black Cat in its most recent iteration. Can you find me a picture of that so I can pull it up on screen so that people know what the fuck I'm talking about?
Yeah, give me a sec.
Yeah, just look up Black Cat horrible artwork, and I'm sure it'll come up. But if
it's
you
gonna do 2019, but
yeah, that's fine. That works too. But there's no way that should have made it past an editor's desk. Like, yeah, you can commission 50 books a month if you want to spend the money on it. But if you want to sell books, you need to have the top of the best of the best of the best.
It's showing me like mostly covers.
No, you got to get interiors.
That's obnoxious. Yeah.
Just add the word interiors. But there needs to be a process in which you filter out some of this garbage that's coming out. There needs to be more control on creative teams. There needs to be less emphasis.
Oh God.
On more is better. Yeah, you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
But, there needs to be less emphasis on trying to put out more books to pad their bottom line and be a predator on fucking comic stores. You don't have to save the image, just link the image in a DM or something, because I'm just going to pull up the hyperlink for it anyway.
Let's see. It's going to be in live show chats.
That's fine.
I just copied it.
Okay, that'll work. Oh, that's not even the worst. No, that's actually
it's still
good.
Pretty bad, though.
No, that's actually pretty good in comparison to what I was talking about.
Oh. I don't know. It's still kind of... So you're talking more like... Let's see.
I'll see if it's on Twitter.
How about that? If it'll send. There it goes.
No, man. Come on, Twitter, don't fail me now. You've been so good to me. I made so many friends the other day.
Are you talking about the like overly like cutesy cartoony ones?
No, I'm talking about the terribly fucking under detailed, just where Black Cat was basically kind of a blob.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of good art right now. Like, I don't know, but yeah, the internet was freaking the fuck out about it. But there's some cosplay right there. Not weighing in on that one way or another. That was, whew. That is something I have no opinion on whatsoever. I'll have to find it, but it was.
Yeah,
Wait, was it
Google
Silk?
is.
Was it Silk?
Oh, let's.
Oh man, I know this is riveting radio. I'm sorry, guys. Marvel. No, I don't know. I'll find it and I'll bring it up on the next show. But basically, there are certain bars that you should have to cross before you should get published by Marvel and
I
DC,
mean,
and
this
there shouldn't be
the silk interior is pretty bad.
Let's see. Yeah, but even that's better than what I was talking about.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Like I'll find it and you'll see what I'm talking about. I think I even
Holy
brought it
shit.
up on a previous show,
That's possible.
but anyway, oh god, it's bothering me now. But it feels like there should be, like I said, it feels like editorial should take a stand and they should stop some of this shit from crossing into their fucking mainstream. Like, there's no way that a book with low tier art and, underdeveloped backgrounds that don't work should have hit the stands. But they do. And I don't understand how that happens. One thing that could put a pin in that is the idea of limiting the amount of titles that you're able to put out. Like the fact that comic stores still buy this shit, the fact that comics are melding to an online platform as opposed to an in-store platform because more comic stores are closing, it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Comic companies need to be thinking about the idea that comic stores can't support the enormous amount of titles coming out every month. And until that's rectified, then nothing's going to change. Because here's the thing. Yes, I know that there is a built-in audience for something like Gold Diggers or some, furry porn comic or anything that Zenoscope puts out because there are people that like artistic titties. I know, drawn titties or whatever. I know that there's a built-in audience for that. But the fact of the matter is, no shop can actively identify how many people will come in and say, "Hey, I want to buy those, those drawn titties." And they
Right, unless they do something like my shop does. They have like a rewards program thing.
Well, sure,
So,
but here's
like
the
if
thing.
they see the same 4 people buy it every single time, drawn titties come out, then you at least need 4 plus 1 for the one random person that might come in.
Well,
right?
Sure, but the thing is, that's expecting you to buy it, almost, and that's not fair to you as a customer, and it's not fair to the shop. And the fact that you have to pre-order 3 months out isn't fair to either one of you.
Yeah, I mean, it at least gives you a little bit of that metadata advantage.
You get that, but I mean, you get that off of a pull list just as easily. If somebody comes in and they want to buy comic books, if you hand them a piece of paper, but a lot of people aren't going to come and pick up everything they put on their pull list. And the problem with that comes in is when, you either have to start charging up front for the pull list, which people aren't going to do because that's just not how it works, or you have to, just eat those books. Really? Neither one of those options is good when you have no returnability. And no returnability basically means no accountability. So, Marvel and DC aren't accountable for anything shit that they put out. They're not held accountable for it. No indie comic creator or publisher is, except for Alterna Comics now. If Alterna puts out a dud, they'll take it back.
Yeah.
But they've also changed their printing and their shipping to the point where they don't do reprints anymore unless the book sells through. That means it sells out and they don't get returns from a store. Then they might do a second print.
Right.
But, Marvel and DC will have 15 copies of Captain Marvel #1 sitting on a shelf. And then a month later, you'll look at a previews catalog and there'll be Captain Marvel #1 reprint available for purchase. Well, it didn't sell through. It just sold out at Marvel because Marvel double shipped it or whatever.
Right.
And it's disgusting. Like, it's fucking the comic stores. It's closing doors. It's pushing fans away. And, I mean, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but did you see that Child of the Atom comic book they put out that goes along with the X-Men book? It looked like fucking garbage.
No,
I not
missed
art
that.
wise, but just idea wise, story wise. The fact that it's like the 12th or 13th fucking X title that's been added.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, the X-Men are not their own fucking universe. They're not their own company. You don't need 13 fucking X-Men books.
Yeah, and you remember, and I'm sure a lot of the chat does, when Hickman first started doing the X-Men thing. I was all in on it. I loved all of it until they decided to continue it.
Yeah.
I mean, Marauders is still cool because that's an interesting twist on a character that we've known for so long.
Right.
But other than that, like, I stopped buying the other titles.
Yeah. Like,
It's just
none of them appealed to me. Like, House of X and Powers of X were kind of cool. It set up a cool premise, but once you took it out of Hickman's hands, it was just like, well, what was the point? Why did you set up this fucking golden goose egg just to have somebody come and crack and scramble it?
yeah, and it's not even that. It's so many titles.
Yeah.
Like, even if let's say it did keep going and got if it got passed on, if it was just like Marauders and like one of the other titles, maybe.
I feel like
So
you
you
can
could
probably do 5 X books and get away with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, to go with the same sort of like 2 stories in one thing, if you had like 2 titles coming out back and forth,
Yeah.
like continuously, that's a little bit more digestible than was 8.
Right now, I honestly think it's 12 or 13 that have been announced.
That's possible. I don't know. Like, I stopped paying attention to it because it just got way too much.
Yeah. And I mean, East of West. It's one book. It was monthly. Sometimes it was even late because the creative team or whatever, they had other responsibilities. Yeah. But it's a good enough storyline that it's worth keeping going.
Right.
I think that's the book, but I need the interiors, Chad. Like the interiors of just the really, really awful fucking black cat that just looks like a Play-Doh. Like it looks like a Play-Doh model. I'm not even bullshitting. But right now, I think that's enough ranting for the night. That's something to think on. Are there too many comic books coming out? If so, why do you think that? If not, why do you think that? And I'd love for people to sound off or be able to call in on that. But with that, East of West, definitely a worthy investment. The story's done. You can pick up the collected volumes on Amazon. You can probably order them through your local comic book store. I believe there are even omnibuy of these books by now. But I would say pick them up in trades or try and find the issues. I think all of it's available on Comixology. I could be wrong. But
yeah, I think it is. If not all, most of it.
It's definitely worth a read if you're into this kind of story and you just want to go for a wild fucking ride through comics history. And it's 46 issues. Go ahead.
Even if it's not, even if the idea of like a sci-fi western, like end of the world apocalypse story, even if that sounds weird and you're not quite sure, at least read these first 5 issues.
Yeah, because I think it'll grab
I
you.
would suggest. Yeah.
I think it'll. I think no matter what your opinion of it is, it'll grab you, and you'll appreciate it for what it is. But anyway, with that, I think we're gonna sign off here. That's all I got.
Me too. All I got left is good night, everybody.
Thank you again, guys. Chad, Novel Bro, Matt Christie, Captain Weeb, Dan Gams, thanks for stopping in. I hope Danielle's okay, and thanks, Mrs. Church, for jumping in early and then passing out promptly. But I appreciate all you guys, and we will see you again probably tomorrow, as long as I don't die again. So we'll see how that
No
goes.
guarantees.
No guarantees. Never a guarantee. I die all the time. But anyway, later, guys.